Picture of My Mind, your quirky Sunday morning podcast, in which I bring you, it's complicated. Today I bring you Creation, the inside story. She smiled, remembering the day she had created man. It was one of those leisurely days which seemed to stretch on forever, unraveling in a most languid sort of way. She closed her fist and opened it to reveal to herself a bit of putty lying limply in her palm. This one will be special, she had thought, as she willed it to start moulding itself. And it had been a very special creation, larger than the birds, more upright than the animals. And today, he stood before her, complaining that the birds had been granted such a range of brilliant colors, multiple ones in a single one, whereas he had just been given shades of brown. Of course it was so, but that was because the male birds had to attract the females to continue their species. Man had been given something more precious, if not as outwardly attractive, to do the same. Something that could be used to do a million other things too, apart from finding a partner to pair up with. But because humans couldn't see it with their eyes, they were always neglecting to use it. Oh well, smiled the Creator. Smiling was something that the humans had been granted the ability to do too. But now, they were only able to smile or sigh, and not both together. Smile. That's the closest I've got to it. As the sounds from out there became more varied and a bit louder, she, the all-pervasive consciousness, moved to what she had planned to adorn humans with. The hair atop their heads, which they proudly styled and cut and colored, was just the basic form of what had been originally conceived. Along these monochrome bunch of strings, there was to be a cascading bunch of sunny yellow flowers with a heady perfume, which changed with the seasons. The ears were not to be handle-like appendages that they were now. They were to be much smaller, petal-like, tender, and placed together like tiny folded palms in the hollow of the throat, close to the vocal cords, so that man remembered to listen as much as to speak, and could also listen to his heart, his own heart, more closely. Fingernails were not to be the basic all-alike ones they now were. She had planned to make them retractable and mold each one differently, like a Swiss knife with 5 different components on each hand. It would have speeded up evolution tremendously. She knew it meant speeding up destruction too, but that was a part of creation. She smiled as the memory of the million creations and destructions gone by flashed across her awareness in a millionth of a microsecond. She had meant to do all this and add other embellishments on the next cosmic day. But the next day, the yang element dominated, and he wanted to finish this one and move on to the next. He saw the petal-like ears lying next to the yet-to-be-finished creation and just added them on either side of the head, thinking they were something to lift the creature by. He even made some changes to the basic form. Tweaking the nose 180 degrees was one of them. The nostrils were originally facing skyward, so that one could enjoy the rainwater, which had a channel directly to the pineal gland and was to trigger off the 7th sense. Turning the direction had nipped it in the bud and also adversely affected the 6th sense, so that man was now left with only 5, often poorly functioning senses. The color palette too, which was conceived the previous day to embellish the form of man, had gone into the day's new creation, which was far smaller in size, but which he had given something man didn't have: wings. In his frenzied attempt to keep tweaking this creation, he ended up creating hundreds and thousands of them, each one different than the other. Then he had fun adding little distinctly distinguishable dabs of vibrant blue and green and purple and red and yellow and all the shades in between, multiple ones, on each of the creations for a startling effect. Though the creator in either of its elements was beyond needs and wants, the yang had his quirks, and one of them was the need to make a more startling impact while creating. The yin nurtured gently, unhurriedly, as she created, preserved, and even destroyed. The yang delighted in making quirky additions, from the sublime to the absurd, adding the musk in the deer and the stink in the skunk. Sometimes they bordered on the bizarre, like the male of some species marking their territory by urinating. The yin had winced even as she lay dormant on that day of creation. So on this day, after creating a plethora of winged creatures, he made a sweeping move with his color-dipped fingertips across the endless sky and lay back smiling contentedly to observe the effect of a rainbow. Then he looked at the monochrome man and felt sorry for the lack of visual vibrancy in this creature. To compensate, he willed to endow him with a special gift, something which no other creature had been given. With the ability to feel all feelings at once, or none at all, the Creator now decided to give man the ability to create something which would give him this special power too, in a modified version. So, he added the teensiest, weensiest atom in his brain of the ability to make a special brew and to discover something to pluck, transform, find something to roll in, and smoke, which would make man relaxed, happy, garrulous, foolish, overbearing, obnoxious, and dull in rapid stages. But he hid it in a deep recess of man's mind, to be discovered later. He was wisdom personified, rather creatified, as he was beyond persona, and didn't want man to lie around writhing cold and naked under the sky while experiencing these feelings. Shelter, food, fire, sandals, sex, not necessarily in that order, were clearly higher on the priority list. In all of this, the saddest thing was the incomplete function of the navel. It was to be a truly beautiful addition, upping the aesthetics of the form of man while giving him a very valuable skill, that of contemplation. He could grow a slender stalk from his navel with a lotus flower blooming atop it just by contemplating on the navel. The color of the flower would tell him of the level of his contemplation. And these colors were to be from a completely different color palette. She was going to blow into the navel the next day to give it this amazing ability. But Yang's focus, having shifted to creating the tiny winged creatures the next day, had deprived man of this ability. And now, as a very faint vestige of the Creator's intention, he was left pulling out navel lint and contemplating on it. Smile.